So I actually got a message from the man, the myth, the legend, Icy Mike today saying, my daughter has a good question for you. Is it a good idea or a bad idea to listen to your opponent's corner? Icy Mike says, I have personally done it and actually won my first kickboxing match that way. But I don't have enough experience to know if it will work for anybody. And then he says, maybe this can be a video. So I want to address that question for you today. Should you be listening to your opponent's corner while you're in the ring fighting? Now I realize for the thumbnail I used Floyd Mayweather, and he's sitting in the corner and he has his cornerman there, and that kind of gives you the impression that, oh, maybe Gabriel is going to talk about that. He's going to address in between rounds. But no. At that point, you're getting your own instructions, you're sitting down, you're listening to your corner, you can't hear what's happening at the other side of the ring. So don't even bother with that thought process. What Icy Mike was referring to and what we're going to focus on today is when you're in the ring and you're fighting and you have corners yelling instructions at you, is that when you should be listening and picking up on little details that might help you in the fight. And the first thing that I want to mention is I've done this before. Absolutely. Now it's gotten more difficult throughout the years because so many of my opponents are foreign fighters. So obviously they're speaking their language, we're speaking in English. It doesn't really help either corner to be worrying about that when there's different language or when there's a language barrier. But when you are working with somebody who has the same language, and if you are aware enough of what's happening around you, and we'll address that in a second, absolutely, you might hear things from the other corner and you would be foolish to ignore it. And in one of my fights, I kept hearing the guy yell, set up Tyson, set up Tyson. And they were obviously referring to Mike Tyson, and obviously they have a combination that they utilize, which, guess what, is gonna be punches. So as soon as I heard that, I went, okay, well, I'm not gonna worry about kicks much right now. I know he's setting up punches, and in that moment, you're able to go, you know, it makes defense so much easier. I don't have to worry about knees, I don't have to worry about kicks. The guy's coming with big hands, and guess what? He absolutely did, and nothing landed because I heard that. But let's talk about the reality for most people out there on your first, second, maybe even 5th to 10th fight. First of all, many people are going to be fighting with headgear. Headgear is going to restrict your ability to hear what's going on. And many people that I've talked to, potentially even including myself early in my career, do not even hear what your own corner is saying. And that's very normal because there's adrenaline pumping, you're nervous, you're scared, you're trying to think, oh, what's everything I trained? How do I do that? And then maybe occasionally you'll hear your corner screaming something at you. They're just pleading for you to do one thing and you happen to hear it. So usually early in your career, Icy Mike said this was his first fight and it helped him win, but most people are not calm enough to do that, and that's okay. What you do want to focus on initially is just hearing your own corner. And you can actually train that by doing sparring sessions and having somebody yell instructions at you from a far distance and just seeing if you can actually absorb the information as you spar. But remember, you're going to be so much more nervous on fight night, plus there's so much more noise. You have the crowd screaming and yelling, and it drowns out a lot. But let's just say, for argument's sake, you have the ability to pick up on what your corner is saying, but you have the ability to also focus on what the other corner is screaming, and you're hearing the advice they are giving their fighter. Absolutely, you would be foolish to not at least register it and decide, I'm going to do something with this information, because they're usually telling him exactly what he's going to do, and most people do it immediately if he happens to hear it. They don't sit around and go, oh, okay, I'm going to wait 30 seconds. The guy said to attack the body, so I'm going to, probe up at the head, I'm going to fake a couple times with the legs, and then eventually they go to the body. No. You can expect if somebody hears instructions, they're going to jump on that right away. And you, being defensive and knowing what's coming, can absolutely use this as almost like a cheat to give yourself an advantage in the fight. But as I already said, this is going to be difficult to do because most people struggle with just hearing their own corner, and that is a feat in itself if you can get to that point where in every fight, as you're in there, as somebody's trying to knock you out, as you're trying to remember everything you've trained, as the crowd is screaming and yelling, all of that's happening, you hear your own corner, that's a good start. If you can hear the other corner, it's like 2 thumbs up and you're on your way to doing a very good job in your future fights, in my opinion. And the only additional thing that I want you to keep in mind is every once in a while, you're gonna get a very clever fighter who will start to realize that when their corner gives instructions, you're reading it, you're learning it, he goes to throw, it's not working. So he'll start going, oh, okay. They're calling for low kicks. I'm gonna start chopping the low kick, but I know he's gonna do it because he heard it from my corner, and then they're gonna start faking. So just be aware that you don't put every, don't put every egg in the basket. There's the expression, all the eggs in the basket, something like that. Don't put all your energy into doing exactly what you just heard, because your opponent might go, yeah, I'm smarter than that. I'll get to it eventually, but right now I'm gonna fake this guy out. It could be used against you. So yes, you can prioritize it to a certain extent, but still remember your overall defense. And that's all I wanted to touch on. I just made this episode mostly because Icy Mike sent me the request, just saying, oh, this might be a good episode for you. And I went, yeah. Plus, I just want to answer the question. So if you enjoyed it, please give the video a like. If you have not already, join the channel and get subscribed. Train hard, guys. I'll see you back here soon for another episode.